like and subscribe. Today, we will talk about the ocean. About 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by ocean. Being a global body of saltwater, oceans hold approximately 96.5% of all water on Earth. Oceans are divided by continents and archipelagos into 5 oceans: Ocean Atlantic, Ocean Arctic, Ocean Pacific, Ocean Indian, and Ocean Antarctic. The planetary ocean is the interconnected system of Earth's oceanic or marine and comprises most of the hydrosphere. Ocean waters do not stand still, but are moved by tides and currents. The tides set the waters in motion daily due to the gravitational attraction of the moon. Currents, great bands of flowing water, travel around the globe. They are of 2 kinds: surface currents, set in motion by the wind, and deep currents, generated by density differences. The saltier and colder the water, the higher is density. Off the ocean, currents move clockwise in the northern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the southern one. This is the effect of the Coriolis force, determined by the rotation of the Earth. Ocean currents have a great influence on the climate. For example, the Gulf Current, which is a warm one, makes the winters in northwest Europe quite mild. For the most part, the ocean floor looks like a vast plain, but mountain ranges, volcanic cones, long ridges, deep pits, and steep also appear in the ocean basins. At the edge of the continents, the continental platform, which borders the Absol Plain, descends through a sloped talus. Continental, relatively steep, to the depths. Continental shelf is, in fact, a part of the continental mass located underwater at depths that do not exceed 100 meters. This is where most of the organisms in the ocean are concentrated. Various forms of life are found in the surface waters of the ocean. Here, sunlight penetrates the water, making it possible for plants to grow. Unlike land plants, marine plants have no way to sink their roots into the substrate. They float through water as tiny, usually single-celled organisms, which form phytoplankton and use sunlight and dissolved nutrient in water to produce organic substances through photosynthesis. Phytoplankton make up the largest part of plant matter in thiocens. Corals can be found in shallow tropical waters, around volcanislands, or from near the rocky moors of the continents. They are made up of small animals, called polyps, that live in numerous colonies. After years and years, colonies of polyps can build up large shoals of coral, called reefs. There are many species of coral which have bright colors. That's why the reef looks like an underwater garden. Only the living surface part of the coral is colored. The layer of dead coral underneath is white. The sun's rays cannot penetrate much through water, so below 200 meters deep the light is very dim, and below 1,000 meters the water is completely black. And very cold. Phytoplankton cannot exist in such conditions, and the number of animals is very low. Since there are no plants to feed on, life in the depths must resort to alternative resources. Some animals consume the matter of plant organisms, and dead animals falling like rain from the surface water layer. Others, like the bardfish, rise to the surface to eat, and then, at the bottom of the ocean, about 4,500 meters deep, it is completely dark and the water very cold. The animals that live there cannot use their eyes to find their food. In fact, most of them are blind. Instead, they have a highly developed sense of touch. That is, they have the ability to detect chemical changes in the water to reach the food source. The bottom of the ocean is covered with a thick layer of sediments, made up of sand, silt, fine rock particles, as well as remains of animals and plants that live in surface waters. Some animals that feed on this debris burrow into the mud or crawl over it. Ocean basins are crossed by underwater mountain ranges, called ocean ridges. In these places, the Earth's crust gradually splits and the magma the water, which penetrates through the cracks in the rocks, heats up in contact with the magma. It then gushes out through cracks in the crust in the form of hydrothermal springs. These jets of water are rich in minerals from the Earth's crust. Especially in sulfur, the minerals are gradually deposited around the springs, giving birth to tall chimneys. From space, the Earth appears to be a huge blue. Due to enormous amount of water on the planet, that is why the Earth is also called the blue planet. Because of the oceans of the total surface of the planet, water occupies about 71%, and land continents and islands only 29%. Furthermore, of all the water found on the globe, around 96.5% is salt water. The marine environment includes all the salt water on the planet, found in oceans, seas, salt marshes, estuaries, saltwater lagoons. The marine environment is not only an unimaginable source of biological wealth, but also plays a major role in climate regulation. Thus, protecting the marine environment is a necessary aspect for the well-being of the planet. The ocean. A sea is a still, salty, deep body of water that joins the ocean through a narrow water channel called a strait. A strait connects to bodies of water and is generally between two parts of land. In fact, that part of the ocean that is North Shore is also called the sea. It is difficult to make a clear distinction between oceans and seas, but usually seas are much smaller and are partly entirely adjacent to land. Default textus in all animals. Breathing is one of the basic functions for survival. In the case of animals living in the aquatus emberum, this is done by filtering the oxygen that is dissolved in the water. Thus, animals have developed various filtration systems, such as the gills in fish, or breathing, which involves the absorption of oxygen through the cells in the skin. It is very interesting that fish can drink salt water and then remove the salt through their gills. However, whales or dolphins cannot consume salt water. They hydrate only from the food they eat: fish, plankton, squid. In the seas and oceans, the temperature varies greatly. Thus, the animals had to adapt to this changing environment. Many animals in the marine environment are cold-blooded, and their body temperature is similar to that of the environment. Dolphins are aquatic mammals related to whales and are spread over the entire surface of the Earth, being often found in shallow waters near the coast. Sharks are fish that have a cartilaginous and elastic body, much more flexible than the bony body of other fish. There are over 300 species of sharks, most of which are marine species. The seahorse is a fish that is between 8 and 18 centimeters in size. It feeds on algae and small crustaceans. Sea lions are not very good swimmers, tiring very quickly. Pollution appeared once people created urban settlements. In the beginning, a large part of the pollutants were organic in nature, being biodegradable. Over time, however, with the development of numerous industries and the growth of the population, pollutants appeared that are very difficult to degrade, or not at all. For example, pesticides, detergents. One of the sources of pollution of the marine environment is waste, especially plastic, glass, or metal. It is estimated that approximately 10 million tons of such waste end up in seas. Marine animals often mistake this waste for food. Some reports have shown that 40% of marine animal species and 36% of seabirds ingested such waste. To change this, action must be taken on the continent. The European Union is currently in charge of initiating recycling strategies in order to inform and sensitize the population about the impact of pollution on the marine environment. The celebration of a day dedicated to this aspect was adopted. World Marine Day takes place every year on the 25th of September and is an ideal way to mark the importance of the marine environment and its conservation. Only about 2% of known marine species are found in the aquatic environment. This means they live in the water column. Unlike benthic organisms which live either in or on the seafloor, deep-sea organisms are generally found in the bathypelagic 1,000 to 4,000 meters depth and absopelagic 4,000 to 6,000 meters depth zones. However, both deep-sea and mesopelagic 100 to 1,000 meters depth organisms have common features. The mesopelagic zone is the area at the surface of the sea where the light is weak. The minimum oxygen layer in the ocean varies depending on the area. And depth 700 meters to 1,000 meters. Also, the mesopelagic zone is rich in nutrients.